There's a buzzword which has dominated the Formula One pre-season landscape in 2026, and that is, of course, compression ratio. It is the trick which has been revealed by a leak from Red Bull, who have taken Mercedes staff to the FIA, where they revealed that the Mercedes engines for 26 are able to go above the regulated 16:1 compression ratio within the power units they have designed. But how have Mercedes actually designed such an innovative piece of kit with regards to their 26 engine? And the answer to that is very, very simple. The compression ratio will naturally fluctuate regardless of whether you want it to or not. Materials expand and retract in the right conditions. That is just physics. But the major difference between the Mercedes team, which have designed their engine, and the rest of the 26 manufacturers is this: they simply didn't realize that the wording in the FIA documents are a dead giveaway in terms of when this expansion is measured. Outside of that, you can do as you please. So in Mercedes' case, they asked the FIA a very simple but genius question. Hey, FIA, about that compression ratio test, could you specify how that's going to be tested? I mean, the whole engine expands with temperature, so are you going to be testing at race temps, ambient, or chilled to minus 20 degrees? We just need to know to be sure we're legal. And with that, and the FIA's response, it opened up this can of worms which we are in. Now, the big takeaway from this is this could have been done and seen, spotted by every other manufacturer. It is just the simple fact they didn't, or if they did, they didn't follow through on it on their end. So back to the topic of how they are actually keeping the compression ratio above the regulated 16:1 outside of the FIA tests. It's through the use of a clever piece and extremely small piece of engineering. This is the claim of Amos. Let's go over what that theory is now. So essentially, the Merc engineers have a space, a pocket at the top of the pre-ignition chamber. It's connected to the rest of the cylinder via a thin channel. At regular air temp, this channel is open and compression is 16:1. But at running temps, essentially when cars are out and running around racetracks, that is different. They've designed it so the walls of the connecting channel expand and seal off this extra space, thus increasing compression from what you tested it at. And this is what it is all about. It is genius, really, if you think about it. It's very simple, but very much something you needed to get the FIA's approval to do. And this is why it is so difficult for the FIA to legally say this is illegal. Mercedes have asked the right questions, they've gotten the right responses from their perspective they wanted, and they've acted accordingly. And it's why we've heard rumours of the likes of Ferrari doing the same with their 27 engine. So what we get now is a case of, is it legal, is it not legal? Almost like Schrodinger's cat, right? Until the FIA decide to open up the can of worms and go down one definitive route, we're not going to know where this all lands and ends. But essentially, I believe from what we've seen with the regulations, how it's been written, what the FIA potentially could have said to Mercedes, they have to leave it as it is for this season. It's far too late into the year, even though we've not had a race yet, for them to say to Mercedes, hold on, we can't have you doing that, you have to change your engine. It would open up a whole can of worms for them in terms of not just making this adjustment to the engine of itself, but the fuels, the mix, all of that sort of thing. It would take a vast amount of money, and I don't think Mercedes would have the time to be able to do that before we headed to Melbourne for the first race. So that is where we all lie with regards to this trick. But yeah, there you go. I think this is a genius ploy by Mercedes, and it is a history that they have within Formula One ever since rejoining in 2010. They have made numerous pieces of innovation on their Formula One Mercedes cars. We've had the double DRS, we've had the Frick suspension, we've had DAS, and we've had the party mode. These are just the areas Mercedes go into. It's what makes a Formula One team successful at the highest degrees possible. You have to be on the edge of legality, but on the right side of it to gain that advantage. And that is what Mercedes have continuously done, even if it's not an everlasting one. They get it for a season or half a season, and by that point, that championship in that year has been done and dusted and wrapped up. And that is what Mercedes seemingly have done this time around. And you can't but commend them for their way of thinking. I think if every other team had thought of that, every other team and their engine manufacturers, rather, I should say, would have done the same sneaky trick Mercedes have. It's on them to dissect and to see where these things could potentially be, these black areas in the regulations for them to exploit. And it's once again the Mercedes team that have done just that. And this should see Mercedes at the start of this 26th season have quite a considerable advantage. How long it lasts is truly anyone's guess at this moment in time. But what I can say is, if the other teams do not have their chassis or their aero up to scratch, there is going to be a major deficit on their hands heading into Melbourne and throughout the season. I think what we're going to see is Mercedes and Mercedes power teams have quite an advantage for maybe 5 to 7 races, if there is one, that is, of course. And then it will slowly begin to claw back these other engine manufacturers, that is, the loss in power with the token system we have in season as well as upgrades. But I think it should give Mercedes an everlasting advantage in terms of championships this year. Right guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, do leave a like on the video, hit the subscribe button down below, turn on notifications for all content ahead of this preseason test starting tomorrow. Right, I'll catch you a little bit later with some more Formula One videos. See you then.